Okay. Hello everybody. Hope you're all doing well. This is Bewarecast, live from the void, number 4. So we'll just give it a minute for people to file in, for anybody who wants to join, so they can join. Blue Team Medic, hello. Hello to you too. The Contingency says, he's coming in with a quote straight off the bat. That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die. Lovecraft. Classic. Hello Contingency, how you doing? Good to have you. Yeah, so like I said, we'll give it a minute just to let anyone come along who wants to come along. There's not really a specific topic for this stream. I just thought we'd make it a sort of laid back, chilled out kind of hangout. I've been watching a lot of horror films recently, so I feel like talking about horror films, sci-fi films as well, any films really. So obviously feel free to chime in with any that you've watched recently. I'm up for recommendations. I'll tell you about the stuff I've been watching as well. Let's see. It's probably going to be a bit of a smaller audience today because the last stream ended up being quite, by my standards, being quite big. But that was probably because it was an All Tomorrows related stream. This one, with no particular topic, probably going to end up being a bit smaller. But we do have 9 concurrent viewers at the moment though, so not too bad. You guys who are watching, leave a comment, say hello. Don't be shy. I won't bite. Excuse me. Yeah, so I've had a bit of a cold over the last sort of week and a half. I talked about it in the last stream actually, but I'm pretty much over it now. So, yeah, you know, nothing worse than having a cold, especially in the summertime. You know, horrible, horrible. So, what have you guys been up to then? You had a good weekend? Let me know. I've just been working for the most part. My fiance had a very long shift at work. It was about 11 hours yesterday. So I spent pretty much the whole day writing the script for the upcoming video, which is coming on Friday at 7 p.m. UK time, as per usual. And it's covering something I've not really talked about before, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So, yeah. 11 viewers. Come on, guys, leave a comment. Say hello. If anybody wants to, the option is there to send a super chat if you want to support the channel. Every penny helps. You know, keeps the lights on around here. So, yeah, there's that option. You can also join the Patreon as well. There's a link there in the pinned comment to my Patreon if you're feeling generous. No pressure, but you can if you want. Oh, cool! Getting some more comments now. People are starting to arrive. Ian, everything's pretty good. Cool. Glad to have you back, Ian. One Silly Moogle as well. Good to have you back too. Let's see, not a big fan of horror. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we don't have to strictly talk about horror films. And I suppose I should have said sci-fi horror in the title of this stream, really. But not just horror films. I'm not talking like, you know, Freddy, Jason and Michael Myers or anything like that. I mean, you know, sci-fi horror, that sort of thing. Let's see. Blue Team Medic, why is no O? Not sure what you mean there. Fred Starr of Britain, hello. Good to have you back. Hi, I've only watched the 2025 movie Superman. In other words, yes, I had a good weekend. Mostly Minecraft with mods. Fair enough. Fair enough. What was that Superman film like? Because I really like Man of Steel. And I like the Christopher Reeve Superman as well. I've not been to see this one. I probably won't go and see it in the cinema. I'll likely wait for this one to, you know, to be on streaming in a couple of years or something. It doesn't really the general vibe. I mean, I can appreciate it for what it is. You know, it's a comic book film. Bright and colourful is kind of how it should be, really. But personally, I really like Man of Steel. That's my Superman, I think. I saw that back in 2013 in the cinema. It's, you know, I was in my mid-20s then. Still kind of, my mind was still forming. And, yeah, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think, I love those films. I really like them. I'll have to rewatch them because I've not watched them for a few years. But I am curious about this new Superman film. I will give it a watch at some point. I'm probably just not going to see it in the cinema, I don't think. Let's see. Bruh, it's sent unfinished. What's that? Infinite Omniverse. Hello. Don't think you've been here before. It's good to have a new face. Welcome. Says, now I have a face for the legendary voice. Yeah, I hope you're not too disappointed. Yeah, no, I decided a little while back I wanted to take the channel into new territory, push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, and just, you know, I was sort of thinking that, I mean, there's been some stuff in the news about, like, well, not in the news, but, you know, the big thing at the moment is YouTube has banned AI channels or something, or channels that are mostly AI. And I kind of had a prediction that AI stuff was just going to become the dominant form of content on YouTube. So I thought if I'm going to be contending with that, I should try and have more of a human element in my videos, which basically meant appearing in them. It turns out my prediction was wrong because YouTube has banned a lot of that stuff. I just thought that was the future. So if there's still going to be people wanting the human touch, basically. So I thought I should start appearing in my videos if I want to try and stay kind of relevant in a sea of AI stuff. People are still going to want to see a real human, real humans. And I am a real human, I swear. So I thought that's kind of why I decided to start appearing in my videos and in these live streams and stuff. But yeah, one of the reasons anyway. The contingency says, there's one concept in sci-fi horror which I think is kind of underused, which is the loss of the self to a bigger collective. Kind of underused in my opinion. Yeah, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers sort of takes that angle. That's sort of about the how we can lose ourselves to collectivism. Collectivism run rampant, basically. I think it's a commentary on that sort of thing. So it's done in that film. There will be some others, I suppose. But yeah, I can't really think of that many. Or any apart from that one, actually. Not off the top of my head anyway. So yeah, I suppose it is kind of a underused. I don't know, does the Blob... the Blob, all that does is absorb people, so I suppose that doesn't really count either. Yeah, anyone? If you can think of any films that fall into that category, the loss of the self to, a bigger collective, leave a comment. I'm looking for film recommendations as well, because I've been watching quite a few films recently, for research, for videos and stuff like that. So I'm always on the lookout for more to watch. Let's see. Fred Star of Britain says moles which worship a dark god or something along the lines. Oh, sorry, you had another comment for that. Speaking of mods, if you are keen on the idea of playing the game with mods, I definitely recommend Alex's Caves. Not only there's dinosaurs, but also a deep sea race inspired by Lovecraft and moles which worship a dark god or something along those lines. Cool. I don't play Minecraft. I think I'm too old for Minecraft, to be honest. That's a young man's game. I'm not a young man. I'm 36. I'm an old man, so I tend to play old man games. Good recommendation for anybody in the chat who does play Minecraft, though. Infinite Omniverse says, I've been a subscriber for a long time now. I like the new direction of the channel. Thank you. Also says, I think that that AI ban is great, by the way. Channels like you are especially nice because it's a human behind the channel, not some bot. And it's also nice if you're an aspiring spec bio writer. Yeah, I agree. I was talking about it with my brother last week, actually, when we kind of... Because I noticed a bunch of videos coming up in my feed saying, YouTube has banned AI videos and stuff like that. And my brother had the view that it was kind of unfair because even though they're AI channels, there's still a person behind it. And it's a person who wants to try and earn a living through YouTube. And it could be that maybe they're shy and they don't want to appear on camera, or they don't want to use their real voice. Maybe they don't like their real voice. Or maybe they're just not confident in their editing skills or something like that. So they use AI voiceovers and AI generated visuals because they're just not confident in their abilities in all those other things, the narration side and stuff like that. But I took the view, and this is purely a self-preservation thing. I was happy about it because it meant I wasn't going to be elbowed out of the way to make way for all this AI stuff that can be generated like that, So, but I do think, I do tend to agree. YouTube it's always been about, I mean, it's called YouTube, not BotTube. So it should be about a person. I mean, you get big companies with channels and stuff like that, but on the whole, it's individuals, isn't it? Or small teams who are doing something they really care about. And I think it should remain that way. I think it should be an avenue for human creativity. That's my view. But, but I think there's room for the AI side of things as well. I mean, AI is not going away. It's, I think it's a world-changing thing, like the internet itself was several years ago. AI is the next development, the next major development. It's not going anywhere, so I think we do just have to come to terms with the fact that it's going to be around. I mean, I utilise it myself. I use ChatGPT for, when I'm writing a video, I might ask it a question, well, what year did this film come out, or how can I rephrase this sentence so it hits the ear better and stuff like that. It is useful. It's a useful tool. You shouldn't be overly reliant on it because it gets a lot of things wrong. But it's a good thing to have handy. Good thing to have in your tool belt. Let's see. Okay, Infinite Omniverse. Oh, sorry. Muris, hello. Good to have you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my glasses on again because I'm having to squint and strain to see these comments in the chat. Muris says there was a great episode called Swarm in Love, Death and Robots. If you want to find more stuff about that loss of the self to a bigger collective. Ah, that's cool. I only watched, I think, the first season of Love, Death and Robots, and I think there's 4 seasons now. So I'll have to give those a watch. I think Swarm. I mean, yeah, from the title Swarm, it's going to have I'm guessing like a hive mind kind of thing. What was that in the first season, or because it sort of rings a bell, but I can't really remember that one, to be honest. Like I said, I've only seen the first season, so if it's in any of the others, I wouldn't have seen it. But I'll definitely find that and watch it because I've got Netflix, so I'll look for that. Infinite Omniverse says I'm writing on a hard sci-fi solar punk universe since 2009. Wow. Naturally, I love all things sci-fi, and this channel now covers more than just All Tomorrows, even though All Tomorrows is still a masterpiece. Yeah, I want to cover all kinds of things. In this, I want it to be a sci-fi channel, really, not just an All Tomorrows channel. Not dissing All Tomorrows at all. Like you said, it's a masterpiece. It's a brilliant piece of work, really original, really weird, exactly what I like. But yeah, I do want to cover more things as well. And yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying that as well. I get lots of comments saying, when are you going to do All Tomorrows again? It's like, I can't just talk about that non-stop forever. There's other things out there, Hey, Ukrainian guy says, hey there, I think Get Out 2017 quite fits the bill of losing your identity to a collective. Don't want to spoil, but it's quite good. Yeah, I watched that a few years ago. Yeah, it was okay. It was kind of doing the the liberal performative sort of angle, wasn't it? Like the virtue signalling sort of thing, if I remember correctly. And it was satirising that. It was an interesting film. I can't really remember much about it, to be honest. But it does fit that category, absolutely. The Contingency says, speaking of AI, there's a cool Steam game named Soma. Yeah, Soma. Not going to spoil if you do wish to play it, but it deals with philosophical questions about what it means to be human and things like that. That's cool. That's right up my alley. I've got in my wish list on Steam, I've got Soma in there because I want to start doing some game playthroughs. Maybe on these live streams, or maybe just on my Patreon, on the sort of on the mid to up to higher tiers on my Patreon. Maybe I'll see. We'll see what kind of demand there is really. But I want to do maybe Soma. I could do a playthrough of that. There's Carrion as well. That's a good one. That's like a film where you play as the main boss, this alien that consumes people and grows, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's Soma. That deals with the loss of identity. So that'd be a cool thing to check out. Ian says, there was this book I've read in English class that takes place in a dark medieval future where society demonises individuality and technical progress. I forgot the name, but I'll research it. That sounds cool. I like things that depict a future that's kind of a low-tech future, because, you know, progress isn't infinite. It's not just an upward, like an incline of progress that's going to carry on forever and ever. Eventually, the bubble's going to burst. We're going to reach a point where what we have, our technocracy, is just going to be too big to manage, and it's going to implode, or maybe not implode, but it'll be like a slow decline sort of thing. The thing is, there's too many moving parts. There's too many people involved. There's too much that can go wrong with such a behemoth-sized system that we have. So eventually that's going to destroy itself somehow, and then we will return to a low-tech state of being, I think. So a futuristic medieval setting, to me, that's exactly the kind of thing I like. I'm interested in, you know, the post-apocalyptic and the sort of post-civilizational collapse type of stories. I like those. So I'll when you do find out the name of that one, definitely drop it in the chat so I can make a note of it. Muris, it's season 3. Oh, that Swarm episode of Love, Death and Robots, season 3. Yeah, I've not seen it then. I'll have to catch up on that. Alright, season 3, episode 6. Yeah, thanks for that. Hey, Audio Curtis, good to have you back. Welcome. Says, what really bugs me about AI is that it is often used as a machine for legally violating copyright. Yeah. It rips the creativity from someone else's work and spits out a facsimile without credit or pay to the original artist. Yeah, you know, that's that is one of the biggest points of debate on the anti-AI side of things, is that it is essentially robbing artists, creators of their work, and just repurposing it. It's there is that side of it. I suppose the counter to that is, if it's unrecognisable as coming from, as having that origin, does it count as being stolen, or does it count as homage? Again, it's a tricky one, really. I'm not really sure where I fall on that side of on which side of that debate I fall on, to be honest. I think it probably is quite suspect, to be honest, the method of how it's being used, because all it does is just, it can't create anything from scratch, can it? It always has reference points. So it's going to, it is going to be using other people's stuff to generate, the art, if you're making AI art. So it's that's a difficult one. More intelligent people than me are gonna be hashing that one out amongst themselves. I'll have to do some reading, I think. But I do see where you're coming from. Absolutely, I'm not disagreeing with you or anything. I'm just saying I'm not really sure which side of things I fall on. Fred Starr of Britain, speaking of Man After Man, there was a book written by Peter Ward called Future Evolution. I haven't heard of that one. It is somewhat of a response to Man After Man and features future evolution through the eyes of the author. Oh, okay. A response to Man After Man. That's interesting. I've made my feelings on Man After Man known before. I have some problems with it. I take issue with its misanthropic attitude. It seems kind of mean-spirited in a lot of ways. Very, very anti-human. There's not really any hope in it at all. And it doesn't have to be a hopeful story. I'm not saying that, but as it stands, as it is, it's kind of it's a bit just a bit too negative. And like I said before, the artwork gives me the Uncanny Valley reaction. So. But, a response to Man After Man from another author. Is it just a book, or does it have illustrations as well? Because that'd be an interesting... Future Evolution by Peter Ward. Yeah, I'll make a note of that. I'll look into it. Because that would be really interesting to see what somebody else's response is to Man After Man. Frederick, could you focus on the works of George Orwell in Next What's Coming? So, I mean, the only George Orwell I've read is 1984, like most people probably have. No, I've read Animal Farm as well, actually, but that was a very, very long time ago. I get that it's an allegory for, the political, the people in charge, people running things, basically. I don't know if I would focus on George Orwell, to be honest, because there's not really anything I can add to that. That's been talked about by lots and lots of people, and pretty much everything that can be said about it has already been said, and everything I think about it pretty much, lines up with what most other people think about it. It's is it a prediction of the type of thing that's to come? Or some people say, was George Orwell actually kind of in on it, and that was his way of gloating about it, was by writing that book? I don't know really, but it's pretty haunting, that story. Pretty so there's not much I can add to that, to be honest. The fifth big guy, welcome back. You were here last time, good to have you. Last stream you brought my attention to the art of gene twisting. Thank you for directing me to such a good story. Yeah, you're welcome. It is a really good story. That, by the way, everyone, if you're not aware, was written by a guy who's commented here, Audio Curtis. He wrote that and did the reading of it as well. It's a brilliant, brilliant story. It's about two aliens, or two interdimensional beings who come to Earth. They like to make artworks out of living things. And they find this guy who's obsessed with trying to perfect himself with plastic surgery. And they get to work on him with hideous results. And not just him, other people who they basically kidnap and drag in to the room as well, their gallery. Or no, their studio, sorry. So it's on YouTube. If you just go to Audio Curtis's channel, or if you just type in The Art of Gene Twisting, it'll come up. It's brilliant. It's good. Great story. Great story. Let's see. Frederick says, science fiction takes every social fact in it, political, economical, etc. facts. Yeah, it does. It's every science fiction story is a product of its time. And it's obviously written by people who live in a certain time. They're going to be writing about things they're taking inspiration from the things that are happening around them in the world, in society. So yeah, absolutely true. Infinite Omniverse says, Do you know Orion's Arm or the Orion's Arm project? You might like it. No, I don't know that one. What's that one? Is that a Spec Evo project or is that a novel? Let me know. Ukrainian guy says, about the future, do you think current entertainment is also a bubble? Right now, we have quite a lot of leisure time and consuming media became pretty much the most popular hobby. So the entertainment industry, it could, I think it probably is a bubble. There is an interesting YouTube video that I found. It was recommended to me. It's called 2030 Our Boring Future. I can't remember the name of the channel, but it was a big video. It went viral. You'll find it no problem if you type that in, 2030 Our Boring Future. And it made some predictions about what entertainment, among other things, but what entertainment's going to look like in the 2030s and beyond. And he says it's going to become extremely bland, basically. Video games are going to have little to no interaction. They're just going to be soap operas that you press a button to, make the character say the next line and stuff like that. Music is going to be totally, what's the word? Just completely like milquetoast, no edge at all, no anger at all, completely just polished, overproduced fluff, essentially. And then films are going to be essentially the same. Just there's no originality, no edge, just slop, as people call it these days. And after that, the bubble probably will burst because everything will just be so boring, so bland that entertainment, like consuming entertainment, won't be a desirable thing to do anymore because it will be so bland and there'll be absolutely nothing to it at all. So I think it's possible that it will burst after that. That's an interesting video. You should, once this stream is done, go and check that out. The Contingency says, yeah, Man After Man is really sad. Humanity leaves Earth, then comes back a billion years later to use the people they left behind. Very sad story. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just got an unpleasant, an unpleasantness to it. There's nothing in there to make you feel good at all. There's no sort of, okay, these humans have been changed into these different strange forms. Are they going to do okay? And they don't. Yeah, it's not a very nice story. It's not written from a place of niceness or anything. I mean, Dougal Dixon, the guy who wrote it, is on record as he basically disowns that book. A lot of the problems with it are there because the publisher insisted on making changes to it. He had a very different vision for it, and that vision eventually became Greenworld. And I do actually have Greenworld, but it was only ever published in Japan. So the book is in Japanese. I ordered it from Amazon Japan, and I've done a bit of translating with the Google Translate, where you hold your phone over it, translates it to English. It's not a perfect translation, obviously, but you can get the gist of it, and it is, from what I can see, it's a much nicer story. So it's a lot more hopeful than Man After Man was. Man After Man is a product of publisher meddling, basically. Yeah, let's see. Yep, Audio Curtis. He's saying he was the guy who wrote The Art of Gene Twisting. He's glad you liked it, yeah? So am I. Yeah, it's a good story. Ran N. Hello, good to have you. I'm back finally. Good to be here, driving home. Well, that's cool, but don't let me distract you from your driving. Eyes on the road. Nah, I trust you. I know you're a good driver. But yeah, I don't want to be the reason for you being distracted on the road. Contingency. I also went and listened to Art of Gene Twisting. Jesus Christ. I am David. I am art. Yeah, it speaks for itself. 10 out of 10. Yes, exactly. Yep. Audio Stories is there for everyone who wants to check out that story, The Art of Gene Twisting. See, Ian says the book is titled Anthem. Let me just go back quickly because my memory's terrible. What was that? Anthem. Was that the one about the medieval future? The dark medieval style future. Let's see. Okay. Infinite Omniverse says a collaborative hard sci-fi world building project that you can find online. It's very weird and niche. The stories are hit or miss, but the lore and the wiki itself is a fantastic hard sci-fi resource. And what was that called again? Orion's Arm. Cool. That sounds interesting. I mean, I've said before that I'm kind of reluctant to get into big projects that are still ongoing because I'm impatient. I don't like waiting for the next thing, really. I like to have a book. I like to have a finished thing, you know, a finished work that I can just read and it's there. I mean, obviously I don't mind sequels and stuff like that, but it's just a weird thing with me. I'm kind of reluctant to get into big projects that are ongoing like that. Especially, I mean, that's kind of why I haven't, I mean, this is sort of related. It's kind of why I haven't really gotten into Warhammer, because 40k has been going on for decades and it's so vast. There's so much to, you don't know where to start. And the stuff that you're recommended to start with, you'll read it and it'll still be making references to things that you don't know what it is because it was mentioned at a previous point in the lore. So it's you know, it's too much for me to grapple with. I'm lazy. Skinwalker 34, hello, good to have you. Says maybe a bit off topic. I read once a short story called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Don't know if you're familiar with it. Main villain is a supercomputer called Am. Reminds me a bit of the Q. Yes, I did actually do a reading, like an audiobook version of I Have No Mouth on the channel a while ago, a couple of years ago. But the thing is, the estate of Harlan Ellison, who wrote it, is incredibly litigious. And he was a very litigious guy when he was alive. He would sue anyone for even, you know, for even talking about his work. He would sue them. There was one, this was back in the really early days of the internet, I think in the late 90s or something at some point, or the early 2000s. I think somebody posted like some of I Have No Mouth online, like just a few paragraphs or something, and he sued the guy. You know, just for that. Successfully sued him as well, I believe. So, and the thing is, now that he's gone, his estate is carrying on the tradition of trying to sue everyone who even looks at one of his books, basically. So I got an email from them, a very aggressive one, saying, take the video down or, you know, court proceedings will be taken against you and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, you know what, it's not worth it, I'll just take the video down. Sadly it doesn't exist anymore because I didn't save it, because, you know, I can't use it anywhere because might land me in some legal trouble. So I am familiar with the story. I did do a reading of it, but I can't have it on the channel because Harlan Ellison's estate doesn't want anyone to enjoy his work, apparently. There you go. El Claudio. Hello, El Claudio. Good to have you back. Says, yeah, incredible how unhinged an author can be in just 11 pages. Yeah, I assume you're talking about... are you talking about the Art of Gene Twisting or the I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream? Both apply, I think. Let's see. The fifth big guy. I agree that the entertainment bubble will pop if producers and publishers keep getting in the way of actual creativity. Yeah, exactly. You know, studio meddling is probably one of the biggest things holding back the entertainment industry. I've never understood that. Like, why does, you know, an executive in a movie studio Why does he or she think that they know better than the actual person who wrote a film, or a director who knows how to make a good film? Why do they... I guess they're the ones who are funding it, so they feel like they should have a say. But I've always found that really weird. I always thought if I was an executive, I would be quite hands-off in that regard. I would just be like, okay, you've pitched a good idea. I like the sound of it. You're the guy who makes films. You know what you're doing. Here's the cash. Make the thing. I'm sure you'll do a good job. Surely that is a more efficient way of making films, TV shows, things like that. That rather than just sticking getting your hands in there and messing things up and saying, oh, you should have this in there. But that doesn't make sense. Oh, I don't care. You should have this in there because I, in this moment, think it's a good idea. It's just, it's weird. It's just really weird. I don't know why it's a thing, but it is. It's very strange. Fred Star of Britain says, I do have to agree on the entertainment... sorry, no, I thought I'd read this, but I haven't. I'll start again. I do have to agree on the entertainment industry bubble thing. I've recently listened to KMFDM due to the hard, angry and energetic beats it produces. I did recently listen to their 2 latest songs. I don't know them, but the mainstream doesn't really make angry music anymore, or anything with any kind of aggression or grit, or I'm going to sound really old now, but back in the 90s, it was all about like the grunge and the industrial. 9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Nirvana in the early 90s, Pearl Jam. And it had, it all had something to it. They all sounded different from each other, even though they were in the same, if they were in the same genre, grunge, like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. They all sounded distinct from each other, and they all had, a very definite sound. You could always tell it was them. But nowadays, there's nothing. It's like you're not allowed to really feel anything anymore. As odd as that sounds, everything just has to be churned out, samey rubbish. So yeah, it's no wonder that people are turning to stuff outside of the mainstream. I don't know how old KMFDM are, or if that stands for something. I'm sorry, I'm probably showing my age by not knowing them. But people like myself, I don't listen to anything in the mainstream. All the music I listen to tends to be instrumental stuff now. It's just a thing with me because I have this weird thing where I cannot understand song lyrics most of the time when I hear them. Sometimes I can, but a lot of the time I can't. So to save myself the being mentally taxed by trying to figure out what somebody's saying in a song, I just listen to instrumental stuff. And I listen to things like dark synthwave music, and then I listen to things like I like Berlin School as well. That's not really aggressive or anything, but it's unique. It's its own thing, which I like. But then, I like listening to... I used to listen to 9 Inch Nails a lot. That was kind of my favourite band in the sort of late 2000s up until, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. When I turned 30, I started to fall away from music a bit. When you reach 30, you become kind of old in your mental attitude. I'm 36 now, so I am an old man. But speaking of 9 Inch Nails, I think Trent Reznor released under 9 Inch Nails a new track a few days ago. But the thing is, he's nearly 60. I'm like, do I really want to hear a 60-year-old singing about the stuff he was singing about back in when he was in his 20s? I don't know, it's a bit cringe in my opinion. But it's not a surprise that people are turning to older music and music outside of the mainstream when what we have now is just sludge, you know. It's not surprising at all. Let's see. Audio Curtis, Anthem by Ayn Rand. Oh, I knew Ayn Rand wrote something called Anthem. All I've read by her was, I think, The Fountainhead, years and years and years ago. I can't really. And then there was the one about the architects as well. What was that one called? Can't remember, but yeah. See, Fred Starr of Britain, and I do think they are fantastic, although I'm kind of afraid their songs will slowly grow softer and such. That's just my opinion. You're referring to the KMFDM, I suppose. I'll have to check them out. Let's see. J-Mob, hello, member of the channel, good to have you. What are you hopeful in the All Tomorrows Redux? I think I'm hopeful for more. I'm hoping for an in-depth explanation of the Q being subdued. At the end of the story. But I'm also hopeful. I mean, this isn't really something to be hopeful for because I know it's happening. But there being more post-human species, there are going to be many more apparently than what there were in the original story. So it's not really something to be hopeful for. I suppose that's something I'm looking forward to. But yeah, that's kind of my main things. And more, I suppose I want to see more of the Q's methods as well. Because I always wondered what their methods were for changing humans. Did they do it on a mass scale? Did they do it individually to each one? I mean, I've seen in the sneak peeks to these that the author C.M. Kozeman has released that there's going to be Q larvae and stuff like that, who I guess they burrow into Star People settlements and infect them somehow, and that's how they're changed. But I'm looking forward to, hoping to get a real in-depth look at how that works as well. Ukrainian guy says, thanks for 2030's video recommendation. While we're on the topic, what years do you think were the golden age of entertainment? Ooh. I think, when I think of all the films that I really, really enjoy, they all came out in the 1980s. There's a good amount came out in the 1990s as well. But then again, there's a lot that I can think of from earlier than that as well. But the 80s was a special time in films because you got Predator, you got The Thing, Alien came out in 79, so it was right on the cusp of the 80s. I guess that is a 70s movie more, so it doesn't really count as an 80s movie, does it? And then there's The Terminator as well. Let's see, there's quite a few came out in the 1980s that I really liked. So I think the 80s is probably the golden age. I know that's probably a bit of a... That'll be an answer that a lot of people will give you. They'll say the 80s was the best time for films. But then again, in the 90s, you had the original Jurassic Park, the first one, which was, that's kind of a milestone, I think, in terms of films. And then from the 70s, you had Jaws. I really like Jaws. So I guess if I had to give, if you told me I had to give a solid kind of start and end, I would say from 1970 up until the year 2000. So those 3 decades were probably, in my opinion, the golden age of entertainment. And a lot of the music that came out in the 80s and 90s as well is just, you can't really beat it. And a lot of the stuff that comes out these days, I really enjoy synthwave and dark synth music and vaporwave as well. That's all inspired by 80s and 90s music. So stuff that comes out today that I enjoy sounds very 80s and 90s. So I would say the 70s up until the year 2000 is the golden age. There's been some great stuff that's come out before and after then, but that's my answer on that one. Skinwalker 34. Wow, didn't know about this. Thanks for the answer. My memory's bad, so I can't remember what my answer was, but I'm glad you liked it. Let's see. El Claudio. Yes, I have no mouth. I don't know. He has another cruel and grim short tail. He probably does, to be honest. He was a bit of a... Harlan Ellison was a bit of a... He was an odd chap. Let's just put it that way. So I don't really have... I don't think I've read any of his other stuff, to be honest, but I'm willing to bet it's as dark as I Have No Mouth. Let's see. JJ says music in other languages is good for that too. I can't tell what anyone is saying either way. Yeah, that's I mean, I listened to some a bit of Japanese heavy metal before. Baby metal is I mean, my fiance was listening to that and I caught some of it and really enjoyed it actually. Had the CD in my car for a while. Yeah, CDs. I'm old. But when it's in a different language, you can just kind of you're not forced to pay attention to what they're saying. You can just enjoy it as a, as a whole, and that's kind of, a lot of people in non-English speaking countries listen to English language music, even though they don't speak English. Either they only have it as a second language, or they don't speak English at all. And yet they'll still listen to English language music. So I guess for them it's the same thing. They can just enjoy it for what it is and not have to try and figure out what they're saying. The Contingency. I also like instrumental stuff, mainly Ultra Kill OST or classical music like Adagio for Strings. So cool to know one of the people I watch also listens to non-lyrical music. Yes, I can't believe I neglected to mention classical music, to be honest. There's a composer I really like. He's not that well known. He's an English composer called Peter Warlock. Warlock as in, warlock, witch and warlock. Peter Warlock, that's not his real name, but he's a composer. He did some lyrical stuff, but he composed some sort of choral, non-lyrical stuff as well. He was active in the early 20th century, and I think he is probably my favourite composer. But then again, I also enjoy modern ones, like mostly from film OSTs. I like a lot of what Hans Zimmer does. I like Rupert Gregson Williams. A lot of his film soundtracks are just great, There'll be some others as well. I really like yes, this isn't classical music, but I like the OST to Terminator and Terminator 2 a lot. I can't remember the name of the guy who... Was it Brad... What was it? Was it Brad Fiedel or something like that? I can't remember his name, but, instrumental music for me is my go-to now. When I was younger and more sort of, thinking I'm some sort of deep genius and stuff like that, as you do when you're like 14, I would listen to lyrical music and pretend I knew what they were talking about. But, once I'd finally accepted myself someone who couldn't really get on with lyrical music, I just became basically a strictly instrumental enjoyer. Daniel Alon, good to have you back. Hello. Hi, sorry for being late. I was showering. No problem. Hygiene is important. Audio Curtis says Fountainhead is about the architects. Atlas Shrugged is about the industrialists. Right, yeah, that's right. Fountainhead is the reason I'm a writer now instead of a pastor like my father. Okay. One of the characters in that book, Peter Keating, wanted to be a painter but was pressured into becoming an architect. Oh, I see. So you You didn't allow yourself to be pressured into doing something your heart wasn't in, which is good. So yeah, okay, yeah. I'd read The Fountainhead a long, long, long time ago. Never read Atlas Shrugged. Yeah, that's the one about the industrialists. Ayn Rand is somebody who gets a lot of flack. She, probably just because of political views and stuff like that. I don't hold things like that against writers from the past. I think it's people are always a product of their time, and you shouldn't judge them. It's like everybody gets up in arms about H.P. Lovecraft and stuff like that. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with his views, but I don't use that as an excuse to not enjoy anything he ever wrote. It's just people from the past are people from the past. In 100 years' time, people are probably going to look at us and think we're, ignorant barbarians, and life is just normal to us now. So it's, but I should probably read some more Ayn Rand. To be honest, I've only read that one book a very long time ago, and I can't remember much about it really. But I'm glad that you are following your passion, and you weren't pressured into doing something you didn't really want to do. That's good. Like I'm able to do this channel now. All I've ever done really is blue collar jobs, like delivery driver. I've worked in factories. I've done care work before, working with autistic people. But what I'm doing now, I wanted to be my own boss more than anything. I didn't really have a set career in mind, ever. I just wanted to be my own boss somehow, and now I am. So it's very important to follow your calling. Let's see. Daniel says, I see the streams about horror movies. Which one is your favourite? Oh, I can't pick a favourite. I've been watching a bunch of them recently for research for videos. My most recent video, for example, I've seen all 5 of the films, but I only had time to rewatch 4 of them. The one I didn't get a chance to rewatch was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I've seen that a long time ago. I remembered enough about it to write about it in the video, but some of the major plot points and stuff I'd probably not be able to remember now. But I suppose I can give you my favourite recent horror film, if it counts as a horror film, and that's probably Possessor, which I talked about in the recent video. It's very good. It's about people who basically possess other bodies through this futuristic technology to commit assassinations, and then afterwards just, destroy the body that they've taken over. It's a very weird film. That's my favourite at the moment. I suppose if I had to pick an all-time favourite horror film, and like I said at the start, I should have specified this is sci-fi horror really, not strictly horror like, The Conjuring or anything like that. This is more in the science fiction horror realm. But it would probably be The Thing. I think that is probably my favourite sci-fi horror film of all time. It's just amazing. I'm a huge fan of practical effects, and the practical work in The Thing is just, it's still, the first time I saw it, it haunted me for a long time. And it still kind of does. There's few things that really evoke that in me now as an adult that still kind of give me the willies that I got, give you the willies. That's an expression we have here, by the way, makes you feel scared. The only other thing that does that to me is the original 3 Resident Evil games, which are kind of sci-fi horror in themselves as well. But they traumatized me when I was a kid. They traumatized me big time. The first Resident Evil, the first zombie that you come across, when it turns its head over its shoulder and looks at you, it's got that horrible groan that it's doing. That just froze my blood the first time I saw it. I must have been about 9 years old when I saw that. And then in Resident Evil 3, you've got Nemesis, who traumatized me all over again. So, but yeah, sorry, that's a long-winded way of saying my favourite horror film is probably The Thing. The Thing. It's the film that traumatises me again and again every time I see it. The fifth big guy says, I always assumed that the Q used a dart gun or beam to modify people, but I like the idea of them parasitising star people and possibly modifying them with a venom-like substance. Yeah, that's an interesting. That's that's a valid interpretation at the moment until we get, the Redux in our hands in front of us. I think any theory is just as valid as any other, and I think that's a good. I mean, they are in that illustration in the original. They're holding a weapon, aren't they? But I can't remember if that says that's a Star People weapon, and it's holding on to it to symbolise their dominion over the Star People. I can't remember, but yeah, I can see that happening. Ran N says, my name isn't real, it's an acronym, RAN. I see. Daniel Alon, speaking of horror, I watched Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings? Horror? And when I saw the Balrog, I was horrified. Oh, yeah, alright, fair enough. Smaug also sent shivers down my spine, yeah. Yeah, that's understandable. If you were confronted by him in person, it would be a pretty horrible, tense kind of experience. Ukrainian guy says, are you familiar with analog horror? Yes, I like analog horror quite a lot. I incorporate it ever so slightly in this new direction I'm taking with my videos. I often have the VHS scan lines effect over some of the stuff in there because I like analog horror. I couldn't give you any specific, because all I've done is just browse YouTube and found some videos and watched it. I'm familiar with the concept. I'm familiar with the genre. It's very interesting, and it's something that I do have a little hint of in my videos, because there's something about VHS, isn't there, that's creepy. The whole analog thing is there's something about it that I can't quite put my finger on, but it is eerie. Daniel says, oh, I adore The Thing too. It haunted me for years. Yes, you and me both. It's yeah, having flashbacks now to the first time I saw the husky. When the husky goes back into the enclosure with the rest of them, and it's just behaving totally undog-like, just completely sort of rigid, and it just sits there, and the other dogs all start growling at it, and then it starts to change. It just, man, that stuck. That was with me for a long time after I saw that. The contingency. Speaking of, do you believe the child got infected because he didn't have cold breath theory? Because in my opinion, I think it was using him as a final contingency to freeze itself and wait. Hang on, let me read that again. Childs got infected because he didn't have cold breath theory. Because in my opinion, I think it was him using the final contingency to freeze itself and wait. Possibly. There's a few different things people say about how you can tell if the characters in the thing, if they are themselves or if they're the thing. I don't know. He didn't have cold breath. That's a possibility. I'll have to look out for that when I rewatch the film. I think I saw another one as well that said something like if they don't have a shine in their eyes or something, but I don't know if that would have been possible to do back when that film was made in the early 80s. Would they have spent the time editing out the shine in people's eyes? It's I don't know. Sometimes I think people are maybe reaching a little bit. I think that one's probably that one could easily be done if they shot his scenes in a warmer environment so he wasn't giving off any cold breath. It's that's a distinct possibility. I'll have to. Yeah, when I rewatch it, I'll keep an eye out for that. So yeah, yeah. Um, so the films I've been watching recently. I mean, this is probably going to surprise a lot of you, but when I watched The Fly to do this most recent video about identity horror, that was the first time I'd ever seen The Fly. Now that's blasphemous, really. I think everyone should have seen The Fly long before I saw it, like last week, for the very first time. I mean, I knew the outline of the story and everything, but I should have really seen it before then. It's the kind of thing that would have traumatized me as much as The Thing did if I'd seen it when I was younger. So I suppose I've got that to be thankful for. I didn't see it when I was a kid, and it didn't just wreck my mind even even more than it already had been from watching The Thing. So yeah, I watched The Fly, rewatched The Thing, Possessor. That was the first time I ever saw that. Excellent film. Under the Skin is a good one as well. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Under the Skin since watching my video. That's a really good one. That is the perfect depiction of an outsider looking in at us. It's shot in such a way as to make everything that the human beings do in that story look really bizarre and really nonsensical. That's a really, it's got Scarlett Johansson in it. It's been out for, I think it came out in 2013. That's a really good film. I'd recommend seeing that. I didn't see, I didn't have time to rewatch Invasion of the Body Snatchers as well, but I'll have to rewatch that because another classic. Ranen, Metamorphosis, Needs a Film, blogs Kafka and Ovid. I see. Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. Is that the one where he wakes up and he's like a beetle or something like that? It rings a bell. I want to read Kafka because Kafkaesque is a term I think of a lot when I'm having to deal with taxes and stuff like that. I'm thinking this is really Kafkaesque because it's just made so complicated. And I know that's a very basic way of explaining what Kafka's whole thing was. Everything he did was all about just how insanely difficult it can be to navigate bureaucracies and things like that in modernity, I suppose. Just going to have a quick drink. Bear with me 1 second. Right, thank you. The contingency says, yes, Metamorphosis, it's the one where he wakes up and he's a cockroach or something. Yeah, cockroach. I knew it was like a beetle or something like that. He wakes up and he's, that sounds like something I could talk about on the channel, really. It's a interesting premise. And if it symbolises something else as well, I'll have to give it a proper read through. So we've been going for about an hour. Pretty good stream so far. Like I said, I didn't really have a specific topic for this one. I couldn't really think of one. So I thought, I've been watching a lot of films recently. We could just talk about films and books and stuff like that. It's been pretty cool. It's been pretty interesting. There's a lot of things that have been recommended in the comments that I'll definitely try and check out when I've got time. What did everyone think of the most recent video then? What did you make of my take on, my analysis on the various films within? Because with The Fly, people usually go the route of it's about disease, it's about, AIDS, things like that. But when I was watching it, I just saw a parallel between that and like cosmetic surgery and the fear of aging and how people see themselves when they get old. They see themselves as hideous. Oh no, I've got to have surgery to make myself look young. I feel like I explained it a bit better in the video than I'm doing now. Let's see. Yeah, Contingency says... Oh no, message retracted. El Claudio says, The Fly was very on point. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was... yeah, that's all I could really think of it as being. And I couldn't really find anybody else who had taken that view on it. So I was glad that I was able to add something a bit new to the discussion, you know, especially with it being a nearly 40-year-old film. So you would think everybody had said everything that could be said about it. So I was quite happy to be able to contribute something a bit different. Yeah, I had a few nice comments on that video saying they really liked it, like the way it was, you know, the direction I was taking, stuff like that. I'll tell you, I'll give you my what my upcoming video is about. It's slightly different, but it's also in a similar vein to that, and it takes an analytical approach to something which I find really interesting. It's not something I've really covered on the channel before, but it fits, I think. And basically, so yesterday I watched... No, the day before yesterday, I watched Tetsuo the Iron Man. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but wow, yeah, that's that warrants discussion, that film. And the other one I watched was the anime from 1995, Ghost in the Shell. They're both Japanese, they're both cyberpunk. And it got me thinking, you know, I enjoy cyberpunk, but I've generally just watched or, you know, played Cyberpunk 2077 or watched Western cyberpunk films like Hardware, Upgrade, and others like that. So it got me thinking, what is the difference between Western cyberpunk, you know, American films basically, and Japanese cyberpunk? What's the difference? So the upcoming video is called Cyberpunk East versus Cyberpunk West. What's the difference? And it's a comparison between the cyberpunk output, contributions to the genre from each side, how they differ. Obviously there's differences in philosophy in the West and in Japan, which inform the way they make and write, you know, the films and everything. So I'm doing a comparison video, and that'll be coming out on Friday. I'll be talking about all kinds of different films in that. Obviously Ghost in the Shell, Tetsuo on the Japanese side, on the Western side, Blade Runner, Cyberpunk 2077, Upgrade, and a few others as well. So that's going to be a really interesting video. That'll be coming out on Friday. I'll be interested in seeing what your thoughts are on it, are on the video, once I've given you my thoughts on how Western and Japanese cyberpunk compare with each other. So I'm currently working on that. I've got the video written. I'm going to be recording it tomorrow after I've given it another glance through and a polish. But yeah, look forward to that on Friday. So yeah. Now we've been going for just over an hour. Our Ukrainian guy says, "Oh, I want to see Tetsuo the Iron Man 2. I'm a fan of body horror. Wouldn't say it scares me. I think it's more of a morbid curiosity. That, and I always love to gawk at some practical effects. You and me both. Yes, it's with Tetsuo, I wonder if it really is. I mean, it's classed as a cyberpunk film. You know what? No, I won't say any more actually, because I don't want to spoil it for you because you want to watch the film. It is really good. It's really strange. But I think you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy body horror, it's absolutely the film for you, because it has that. It has body horror in spades. It really does. And that's I'm going. I think I will do a video in the future about Tetsuo, debating whether it actually is a cyberpunk film or not. People call it a cyberpunk film, but I'm not so sure. And I will, in the video, I'll give you my reasons for doubting that. Let's see. Audio Curtis says, I wonder if there was ever a point where the Eastern and Western versions of cyberpunk influenced each other, like samurai movies influencing Westerns. I'm sure they did. I mean, cyberpunk has its origins in Japan, so it likely would have found its way over to the West, and it would have inspired Western filmmakers to make their stuff. And then, and then it's quite possible the Japanese filmmakers saw what the West was doing. And, you know, Japan, they make stuff for themselves, but they do also have, they've got their finger on the pulse of the Western market as well. They do like to appeal to, they have a fascination with America in particular, so they do like to appeal to the American audiences as well. So certainly there would be cross-pollination between the two, absolutely. Fifth Big Guy says, got any tips for recording for videos? For me, it's a very draining and cumbersome process. Yeah, it is for me as well, to be honest. I suppose a tip I can give is don't be too hard on yourself, because, I mean, I've been doing this for about 4 years, and every time I go to record a video, I flub what I'm saying. I have to repeat it over and over. I'll mispronounce a word, or I'll miss a word, or something silly like that. And, you know, if I'm still doing that after 4 years, then I think that's just part of the process. So don't be too hard on yourself if it seems like it's a really insurmountable task trying to record, because it is a difficult thing to do. You know, when you're first starting out, you imagine it just being a case of press record, say your stuff, press stop, and that's it. But it's a lot goes into it. It's you know, so yeah, don't be too hard on yourself if it is you're finding it very difficult to do. Just take a breather. Don't get frustrated, because when it stops being fun to do it, then it's not worth doing anymore. It has to be enjoyable to do it. There's no good reason to do it besides enjoying it. So don't be hard on yourself if it seems like it's not going well. I suppose it depends if you're on camera or if it's just a voiceover that you're doing as well. When it's a voiceover, makes it a little bit easier, because you don't have to be performing and using your hands and looking straight into the camera and stuff as well. I mean, you've probably noticed in my recent videos, when I'm on camera, at times it's quite obvious that I'm sort of reading from a thing, because I just can't memorize stuff. I've got a really bad memory. Let's see. If I think of anything else, I'll tell you. But yeah, my main thing would be don't be too hard on yourself if it seems like it's not going right. I mean, even the big, you know, the real big YouTubers, the professionals, real professionals, it can take them a week or two to make a 20-minute video, just because it's such a, it is such a, at times, tedious thing to do when you're having to re-record and stuff, because you keep making mistakes. And the more wound up you get, the more frustrated you get, the more mistakes you're going to make. So just take a breather, you know, regularly. Don't rush it. You know, that's my advice for now. But if I think of anything better than that, I'll let you know. Contingency says, in my opinion, Cyberpunk is some of the most overdone sci-fi. I don't like it. It fell off at 2077, in my opinion. Not that people can't do anything creative using the general aesthetic. Yeah, fair enough. You know, that's a valid point. It has become a little bit oversaturated, I will admit. And I suppose it's kind of lost its way in recent years. It's quite different to how it was before. It's become all about, oh, look at this cool technology that people have got surgically implanted into them, and that's kind of all it is now. But before, it was always making a commentary on something. It always had it was like the setting is now the focus point, if that makes sense. Whereas in older stuff, the setting was just the setting, and it was a story taking place in that setting. Whereas now it's, oh, look at this cool cyberpunk world, and that's the focus, when it shouldn't be. It should be in the background as an aesthetic rather than the main emphasis, if that makes sense. The fifth big guy says recording as in lines and voiceovers. Yeah, it's all quite difficult to do, to be honest. It's not an easy thing. Like I said before, it's not a case of press record, say your lines, stop, and it's flawless, and you have it done in 5 minutes. It's not. It's a very time consuming and difficult thing to do. I say difficult. It's relative, isn't it? Making a video is a difficult thing to do in its own sphere, kind of thing. It's not as difficult as being a fireman or something like that. So, but it is very, very time consuming, very, very tedious at times. But it's like I said, if I think of any more good advice, I'll let you know. Ukrainian guy, do you think old dystopian stories with futuristic elements like 451 Fahrenheit can be considered cyberpunk? Maybe. Fahrenheit 451, that's Ray Bradbury, isn't it? It's about the books are banned in the future, and the firemen use these robotic dogs with flamethrowers in their mouths to find and burn these books. I think I read that story probably 10 years ago or so. I really liked it. I do like Ray Bradbury. He's another one whose estate got on my case because I read some of his stuff on my channel. Told me to take it down, so I did. Shame, but what can you do? It's their IP. If they don't want me using it, I can't use it. But 451 Fahrenheit. I suppose it has proto cyberpunk elements to it. I mean, it's set in the future. I think it's more. I don't know. I suppose it would just be more dystopian fiction rather than cyberpunk fiction, in my view, because I think cyberpunk it's generally it's about the bodily augmentations, the implants, the mechanical and digital implants that are surgically implanted into you to improve your physicality or your mental capabilities or give you new abilities. And there's not really any of that in Fahrenheit 451. So I don't know. I personally wouldn't consider that cyberpunk. There may be others who disagree, though. Leave a comment if you've got a differing view on that. Be interesting to read. I think would Fahrenheit 451, would that come under transgressive fiction? Possibly. Then again, maybe not. Hard to categorise that one. I suppose we'll just have to be broad with that and call it dystopian sci-fi. There was a film of that as well that came out recently, I think. I've not seen it, but I'll have to reread the book as well, because that was a good book. Yeah, transgressive. Yeah, I say it might not be transgressive fiction, to be honest. I think that tends to be more stuff like Fight Club and stuff like that, which is essentially a protagonist who is dealing with life in an unconventional way. So I suppose Fahrenheit 451 may come under that, because the protagonist is, in his world, reading books isn't allowed. But I think he finds one, doesn't he? And he's coping with his life by reading a book, which in his world is a very taboo thing to do. So maybe. But yeah, that's what that is. Stuff like Fight Club. And yeah, other. Why can't I think of any more examples? But yeah, basically just somebody, a main character who deals with life in an unconventional, borderline illegal way. That's basically what that means. So yeah, cool. Right. So yeah, we've been going for about nearly an hour and a half. So I think that's probably a fairly good place to leave it off, actually. It looks like the comments and everything are slowing down a bit. So, Audio Curtis, Clockwork Orange, maybe. Yeah, that's... yeah, that could probably fit into the transgressive side of things. He's basically a bit of a thug at the start, Alex. But then he goes through his programming. It could fit. Don't know. I mean, what is the category for A Clockwork Orange? Like the official category? I'm not really sure. It's set in the future. I don't know. Is it dystopian? Probably a mix of dystopian, transgressive. Yeah. Probably. El Claudio says yes. Right, so yeah, we've been going for nearly an hour and a half. That's probably a good place to leave it. It's been a pretty good stream, actually. I've enjoyed this one. Just a reminder that if you want to join the Patreon, support the channel, you can. The link is just there in the pinned comments. And yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. It's always, I really like doing these streams. So it's good to, it's good to have you all back. There's a lot of people who were here last time. A couple of people who weren't as well. So even though we didn't talk about horror for most of the stream. Yeah, true. We did a bit. We talked about The Thing. We talked about the films in my most recent video. They were all horror. Let's see. Ex Jill News. Good to have you. First time I caught one of your streams live. I like watching while eating. Yeah, cool. I like watching stuff when I have something to eat. Yeah, it's cool. Yep. Ran N said he had fun driving about town. Right, cool. That's good. Yep, okay, contingency. See you in the next one. Catch you later, Audio Curtis. A lot of recommendations, you're right. Ukrainian guy. Lots of stuff to check out now. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll leave it there. And I'll see you again on Friday for the new video. And on Monday for the next live stream, live from the Void number 5. So take care, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Take care.